US President Barack Obama's plan to bolster the strength and legitimacy of the Afghan government so as to defeat al-Qaeda militants and their allies is non-democratic, said a US congressman during a subcommittee hearing of the House of Representatives Committee on Foreign Affairs. The subcommittee hearing, entitled U.S. Strategy for Afghanistan, Achieving Peace and Stability in the Graveyard of Empires, heard testimony from several expert witnesses on Afghanistan and its neighbors.
The ideas being presented will not work, and the situation will not get better. Mr. Chairman, the structure that I have been told, about, the structure that we've seen in quote, classified briefings, the structure that we are supporting is a non-democratic structure for Afghanistan.
Obama's new strategy for Afghanistan and Pakistan, unveiled on March 27th, includes integrating a civilian-military counterinsurgency strategy in Afghanistan, expanding the security forces and deploying more troops to break the link between narcotics and the insurgency, and greater engagement of Pakistan in order to help stabilize Afghanistan. Rohrabacher insisted that the U.S. administration must acknowledge and accept that since Afghanistan had never been ruled by a strong central government, a plan based on the appointment of local officials by the center was not the right way to go about establishing democratic and durable governance.
Our plan is based on provincial governors being appointed, district people being appointed, all the way down to the bottom. And we should make sure that people all the way down to the village have a right to elect their local officials.
Seth Jones, a political scientist from Rand Corporation, who was another witness at the hearing, agreed with the congressman that it is necessary to focus U.S. efforts at the local level through a bottom-up approach rather than the other way around.
In my view, important chunks of the motivation for fighting the Afghan government, the Americans and others, is very locally based. And that is important to realize because it means, in my view, that the solutions are not just about a central government, they are also about working with and understanding local dimensions.
He told the subcommittee that the U.S. should think more concretely about bottom-up rather than entirely top-down, which is where the U.S. has focused. Another expert witness, Dr. Karin von Hippel, a scholar at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, took a different stance by noting that although Afghanistan became a centralized state after the fall of the Taliban, there is nevertheless local involvement in politics.
They have a highly centralized form of government that may not be appropriate, as you're saying, to their very fragmented society, but that's what they've agreed on in the Bonn process. That's the constitution they agreed on. Now,
we ran the Bonn process.
But that doesn't mean...
Let her finish.
That doesn't mean that there isn't a degree of a lot of local involvement at a number of different levels.
An example of such involvement was the National Solidarity Program, an effort by the government to reach rural communities across Afghanistan. Another example was the local councils, the Shura, which can vote out the people who are in charge of certain local development projects. In his opening remarks at the hearing, U.S. Congressman Gary Ackerman, chairman of the Subcommittee on the Middle East and South Asia, called for a coherent regional approach, in particular one that deals effectively with Iran and Pakistan. He acknowledged that Iran had legitimate concerns regarding narcotics trafficking across its border, but he added that there is significant evidence that Iran has armed the Taliban to gain leverage over the U.S.
But while we seek their cooperation in Afghanistan, we should also insist that they stop arms shipments to the Taliban in accordance with UN Security Council Resolution 1390.
The UN resolution, adopted unanimously in January 2002, several months after the September 11th attacks, calls for the prevention of arms transfers from the UN member nation's territory to al-Qaeda or the Taliban.